Chapter 4. When I got back to our car, still parked on Broadway, Miles seemed truly glad to see me. I was afraid you'd gotten mixed up in a murder trial of your own with U.S. courts, he said. When I told him about the two gangs I had met within an hour of setting foot in New York, Miles had the same fantastic thought that had come to me. You realize, of course, that you'd never have had a chance with them if you hadn't been thrown out of court and got your picture taken. We drove downtown, and this time we went in person to the DA's office, not because we were under any illusions about our reception there, but because the only route to those 7 boys in prison lay through that office. I wish there were some way, I said, to convince you that I have no other motive than those boys. Welfare in asking to see them. Reverend, if every word you're saying came straight from that Bible of yours, you still couldn't let you see them. The only way you can see those boys without Judge Davison's permission is to get a signed permission from each of the parents. Here was another avenue opened up. Could you give me their names and addresses? I'm sorry that we would not be at liberty to do. Back on the street, I pulled a now tattered page from Life out of my pocket. Here was the name of the leader of the gang, Luis Alvarez. While Miles stayed with the car, I went into the candy store and changed the $5 bill, it was almost our last money, into dimes. Then I started to call all the Alvarezes in the telephone book. There were over 200 of them in Manhattan alone. Is this the residence of Luis Alvarez, the one who is in the Michael Farmer trial? I would ask. An offended silence, angry words. A receiver slammed in my ear. I had used up 40 of the dimes, and it was clear that we would never reach our boys this way. I went outside and joined Miles in the car. We were both discouraged. We didn't have the faintest idea of what to do next. There in the car, the skyscrapers of Lower Manhattan towering over us, I bowed my head. Lord, I prayed, if you are here on your errand, you must guide us. We have reached the limit of our own humble ideas. Lead where we must go, for we do not know. We started to drive aimlessly in the direction the car was headed, which happened to be north. We got caught in a mammoth traffic jam at Times Square. When finally we extricated ourselves from this, it was only to get lost in Central Park. We drove round and round before we realized that the road was there from a circle. We took an exit just to be out of the park. We found ourselves on an avenue that led to the heart of Spanish Harlem. And suddenly I had that same incomprehensible urge to get out of the car. Let's look for a parking place, I said to Miles. We pulled into the first empty space we found. I got out of the car and took a few steps up the street. I stopped, confused. The inner urging had gone away. A group of boys were sitting on the stoop. Where does Luis Alvarez live? I asked one of them. The boys stared at me sternly and did not answer. I walked on away aimlessly. A young Negro boy came running up the sidewalk after me. You looking for Luis Alvarez? Yes. He looked at me strangely. Him that's in jail for the crippled kid? Yes. Do you know him? Still the boy stared at me. Is that your car? He said. I was getting tired of questions. That's my car. Why? The boy shrugged. Man, he said, you parked right in front of his house. I felt bumps form on my flesh. I pointed at the old tenement house in front of which I had parked.